7 o'clock. Okay, welcome. Let's have a pledge to the flag. October 7th, okay? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome. As you know, we've got a little change in our deals, so I'm following the new emergency order, which basically says if your exemptions from covering be given a speech, broadcast to audience, provided the audience is at least 6 feet away. That's why you're so far away from me, so I'm going to take my mask off. And have roll call.
Mark Foltz.
Here.
Mark Frazier.
Here.
Francis Griffin.
Here.
Kelly Schmidt. Here. Rick Arnold.
Here. Agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion's been made. Second.
Very good.
I supported it.
He hasn't
You
got-
vote.
he hasn't got it
All in
started yet.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, we're first going to open the first meeting at what time is it?
7:01.
7:01. And Troy, we're going to have you lead the Spartan Fence IFT hearing.
Okay, so this is a public hearing which has been noticed to the taxing units and in the newspaper for a renewal of an IFT, which is Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Certificate for Spartan Fence. Just to quickly summarize, Spartan Fence built a new facility in our industrial park approximately 2 years ago and qualified for an industrial facilities tax exemption, and our policy is we grant them in 2-year increments, just to make sure everybody stays in compliance and does what they said they're going to do. So this is our year to renew it, and so like I said, notices went out to the taxing units, which the affected ones are everything, well, all the taxing units are affected, the exception being the state education tax. So, you have, I put in your packet their application tonight, okay. So, I mean, they did everything they said they were gonna do, their job creation is, on track and everything, so,
Motion to approve.
Mark, okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Butch, roll call vote, Kevin?
Mark Frazier.
Yep.
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Rick Arnold.
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes. Carolyn, don't you like how smooth the meetings go?
and I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing for the Spartan Fence IFT,
What time?
7:03.
7:03, okay. And we have another one, don't we? LDFA informational hearing. Troy?
Okay, so this is the first of the required LDFA public information sessions. The LDFA, which is in our, overlaps with our DDA district along the Lansing Road corridor, is administered through the I-69 International Trade Corridor, but since the district is all in our area, we hold the informational meeting. There really has not been a lot changed this year. The current balance in the LDFA account is $20,583. We are capturing money. The project, the main project will be the utility work along Lansing Road, which, provided to see how our grant application goes, then we'll start using some of that. So, are there any questions from the public or anything on the LDFA district?
Any questions? Okay, hearing none.
Hearing none, that concludes the LDFA informational session.
Thank you, Troy. And what time is it?
7:04.
7:04. Check. All right. John, September 2nd, regular meeting. You should have those. Any changes, any corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
All right, Troy's made a motion to approve.
Second.
Mark's on second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Justin, where are they? Justin, first of all, congratulations. I saw that you were at the Capitol with Ben Frederick, and
Yes, indeed.
how quick I printed that off.
Wow. Wow.
Did you just send that?
Yeah.
How many minutes ago?
Hour.
30 hours. Listen, we don't mess around in this small township, all right? We're on target. You were there with Ben, and he got a nice plaque. State Rep Ben Frederick, recognized for his legislative economic development by your MEDA. Very good.
Yeah.
You wanna
So some of you may know this, I was president of our state association last year, the Michigan Economic Development Association. I'm a board member again this year, and we created a new program to honor state legislators and their work in economic development. And of course, I nominated Ben, not only for his work in Lansing, but he's done work obviously here in Shiawassee County. He was mayor of Owasso. So today, we presented him that honor at the Capitol, which is the picture that you have right there. So I think there's 4 or 5 of those awards being handed out in other districts as well around the state. But Ben was pleased and very glad to be able to honor him. So
say something about the one you got.
And I hear you got one.
which one?
Mark?
Oh, which one?
Justin and his team were given
Oh, yeah.
a proclamation award
Yeah.
from, signed by Ben and Tom Barrett for the work they did during the lockdown, starting March 24th, to keep the businesses informed and engaged in the programs that were out there to benefit businesses and so forth. So probably if we could see numbers, you might find that Shiawassee County had one of the highest, if not the highest, participation rate in the state as far as in the programs. We did, for instance, payroll protection, we had around 600 businesses that benefited from it for about $60 million. So, and that was directly because Justin got the information out there and kept it in front of people, so.
And he keeps his phone on 24/7. I can call him at 9 o'clock at night, I can call him Saturday or Sunday, and he's, even though he might be at a Michigan football game, he'll talk to me.
Hopefully, we'll see. Probably not this year.
All right.
Thank you, Mark, and you've been a great board member. I got a great board, and yeah, we've worked our tails off. I'm very proud of all the resources we've been able to bring in. I do know a lot of businesses in Perry Township who were able to benefit from the PPP program and other resources. So, you know, I've told people I don't think there was a more important time in my career than the last 7 months trying to help companies stay in business. And I think what you're seeing now, it's amazing. You know, the economic comeback that's happening. You know, we've lost a few businesses locally, obviously, but many have survived and many are thriving again. In fact, the number one issue we have right now is talent. I would tell you tonight, we probably have close to 1,000 job openings in Shiawassee County.
Wow.
Yeah, everyone's hiring. All different kinds of businesses too. So that's our number one focus right now, actually, is getting talent to companies. So, I mean, in Crest Pontoon, I drove by there coming here, they have 150 job openings right now.
Wow.
150, I know, yeah. So, yeah, everyone's hiring, industry in particular is hiring, and so, yeah, that's what, it's really, bringing our focus. The 2 things I did want to mention, though, obviously the EDA grant, working on that. I want to thank Mark and the board for their leadership in moving that forward. I know we're just about done, I believe, with our engineering on that. I did talk with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation today. I alerted them we're going to be coming forward with their support for the match, which they indicated that they were very interested in supporting. And so, feeling good about that application. So we'll hopefully.
More later in the meeting.
Okay. But the big reason I'm here tonight is this gentleman right here.
Oh, okay.
We're excited to let you know about Mr. Hoover, Michael Hoover. I'll let him introduce himself, but he is working on moving his business into Perry Township. And so we recently had an introductory meeting here at the hall. Mark, you were there. Troy, you were there to meet Mr. Hoover, learn about his business, and obviously we want to do what we can to support any business that wants to come to Perry Township and Shiawassee County. So, Mark, you had suggested it might be nice to have Mr. Hoover, Michael, come tonight and introduce himself and sort of begin the relationship with the township. So, I'm here to support him and glad to be here. So, Michael?
Well, thank you so much. Michael Hoover, and proud father of 4 and grandfather to 8. Walk with the Lord every single day. And we have a business called Mosquito Squad. We now have a fleet of 10 trucks. We service from as west is Grand Ledge, and as east is Washington Township, which is in Macomb, south of down to Ann Arbor. So we see a lot of ground. Our trucks see a lot of territory, and we're very excited about the opportunity to take those trucks and drive them in and out of here every day. They'll certainly go into the greater Lansing market, and then they'll be going down the I-69 corridor. This is why it's a great location, and then 52 to 96. We also have customers in Linden, Fenton, and Byron, so everywhere in between here. And so we're part of that demand for talent and for people. And we bring a higher wage because of the requirements of the job. You have to be certified with the state, with MDARD, and so we do pay a little bit higher wage. So we're happy and excited to bring that into to the township. I have to tell you that every time that my wife or my family have come into Perry, we've been treated with kindness. We've been treated with respect. We've been treated with open arms. And it doesn't matter if it's with David on the auto place right down the road, or David Banker, that is, or Elsessers doing some tune-up on our trucks, or Perry Hardware, or the antique shops, or Kim's breakfast place. So, and the pizza place, Brett's Pizza Place, one of the best. Actually, we prefer, we live in Langford, and it's a little bit further, but we actually come get our pizza from there because it's better.
Good point.
So,
But you're not only into mosquitoes, you're into them stink bugs too.
yeah, we do.
That's,
We do take out the stink bugs too. Yeah.
got 2 of them today. Man, you want it.
They're really the bad thing about stink bugs, while they're a nuisance to all of us and their infestation is into our homes, they don't do so much damage. They can stain, but really the biggest issue with them is our crops. And if you have apple trees and pear trees and you see a little brown bite in the middle of it, that's probably a stink bug, and that's a problem. And so one of the things that we do is we use a product called Wondercide. So, you can get it yourselves, but by all means, we're the professionals at it. Wondercide is an essential oil product. It's all natural, no pesticide, no insecticide. And so it's a lovely product, and it will take the bugs out.
Well, welcome to Perry Township.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention location.
Oh, location. So our new location is going to be on Bennett Drive, just up the road here, off of Lansing Road.
Yeah.
And right next to our good friends at Spartan Fence.
Perfect.
They're buying Sparks, that's
For Goldville, the small world. Perfect.
Yeah.
Michael, great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate the time.
Okay.
How many people work for you?
So this year we hired 54 people.
Wow.
But to be honest with you, we probably need about 20. The turnover was the issue this
So
year.
your normal crew's about?
Our normal crew should be around 24-ish, but yeah, because of COVID and all the things going on in our world, yeah, and so people is a real issue. So we're excited about coming here because we feel like, from what we've learned from some of just talking to some of the people we do business with today, that the talent here is better, and there's a solid group of people, well raised.
Are you gonna have need for our
Yes,
water system
yes.
extension? That's gonna be,
That was
We talked about it
something
at
you
one
really
time that
was
we're.
excited about. Yeah.
What is your starting pay? What's your pay average?
We start at $15 an hour.
So it's a good
Good pay.
It's good pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And commonly we'll pay overtime.
well, welcome.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. Are you all set?
I'm good.
I know you want to go to Woodall.
I'm going to work out.
Oh, you're going to work out. You're working out. You're going to work out. I'm going to work out. Karen, you're next. Karen's our clerk. Hi.
Hi,
Welcome to Perry Township.
thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time. I'm just out and about, giving you guys an update since COVID kind of knocked the world off its axles. And, we were there the whole time. The court was considered essential, maybe not full staff, and we were closed to the public. But we are now full staff and we are open to the public. We do not have any appointments or anything like that, not on the court side, not on the vitals. So with the court side, we are complying with the Supreme Court ruling still. We have to have limited amount of the public in the building right now until we can move to another phase. I believe we are on phase 4 out of 6. So right now they have one in at a time. Temperatures are taken at the door, a screening, a few questions are asked, and they sign in. And so with this court system being in another building with other public offices, the department heads in the offices decided that we would comply as well with the standard of how many people were permitted on the floors at the time. So it's 10 per floor in the courthouse. 2 on the vital side, 1 on the court side. I also have a new staff that's joined us. She's coming on her 90 days. We forget that she's new. She's working out that well. So not much to speak on the court side, but more on the vitals. One of the things that I'm really driving home this visit is the CPL changes that have been taking place, certified pistol licensing. We are increased significantly. Right now, we're pushing about 1,500. We've never had 1,500 from the year start. So we are up significantly. We do stop the process for new CPLs at 11:30 and then at 4:30 because of the time it takes. I need to get my staff out on time for lunches and at 5 o'clock. It doesn't necessarily work that way, but that's our end game. So if they're in the building by those times, we do take them. If you're doing your renewal, we're encouraging people to do that online through the MSP website. We will do renewals in our office, but we're trying to limit the access of the public. But there are facilities in the county that are doing classes once a week and they are full. They used to do them once a month, but now they're doing them once a week, 30 to 50 at a pop. So I think our record right now, last week we did 16 in one day. That is just CPLs. That does not have anything to do with any other request of a vital record. Let's see. The fingerprinting has also changed. That now has been moved to take place in the sheriff's department. The sign up for that needs to be done online, and you go through the county webpage, and it's just quick and easy. Sheriff's fingerprinting, you set your appointment, and then with the document that we give the person, they submit that with their application to go for the fingerprinting. So that's now done at the sheriff's. And then last but not least, elections. How's it going, Kelly? It has been
Busy.
very busy. Long days, no lunches. I really want to just commend our local clerks that have really been diligent on being proactive in what we were preparing for. Even at the end of last year, we were having meetings and talking about what the Bureau was potentially seeing with the proposal of 18.3 passing, no reason, absent voting. They were going to be pushing that agenda. So the pandemic just increased everything. I would say that we have tripled countywide ballots, mail-in ballots, and we have 11 counting boards this election, which shows how they've been proactive, getting that extra tabulator, getting extra workers, but it becomes a cost. So that's what everyone needs to realize. You know, we're having a hard enough time getting people to work because of the people that worked prior, and everyone usually had their go-to people. Some are afraid of the pandemic and that kind of thing, even though we put safety measures in place. I'm teaching probably over another 100 in a couple weeks. So we did over 200 in July to certify, and I'm doing over 100 people doing 5 classes instead of just the 2 I thought I was going to do. So that is taking place, and the Bureau is, my understanding, supposed to be supplying any additional PPE to jurisdictions, but they need to do the request of that. So I don't think Perry Township, if anyone is interested in upgrading their website or a new polling, a Dropbox or anything like that. There's grant money that we're trying to utilize from the county level. So if you have anything that you might be interested
We
in
want to
that.
do a website.
Hmm?
We want to redo our website.
Well, let's have a conversation because the coordinator for the county, Dr. Boggs, has reached out to me about this grant money, and it has to be something that affects the public. So we believe that websites are also included in some of that transition, so
Okay.
we're hoping to help out some that have
Okay,
incurred.
any questions
extra
for
costs.
Karen? Any questions for her?
If
Thank
you
you.
ever have any questions, please feel free to call us. We're there, willing to help out where we can.
Thank you.
Caroline, is that 1,500, that's new applications this year on the
Yes.
CPLs?
Yes.
So how many, do you know approximately how many we have total in the county?
No.
No.
A lot.
It started coming, county level took it over in the end of 2015. And at that time, it was at like 800 by the end of the year. It has gradually gone up. Last year, we finished at just about 1,200. So, and here we are pushing 1,500 and still have a couple months to go.
So 3 months ago, yeah.
Mhm. So, thank you for allowing me a few minutes. Vote on November 3rd and stay healthy.
You too. Have a safe election.
Thank you.
All
See you.
right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna throw one more official at us here before we start our regular reports. And this gentleman needs no introduction, so I'm not gonna give him one. John! Take over.
Sometimes that would be good.
Well,
Thank you, Mark.
John.
Just I'll have a brief synopsis of what's been going on. When the COVID struck, one of our main things that we were worried about was the action of revenue coming from the state. We anticipated that maybe there wouldn't be a third quarter payment or a fourth quarter payment. It does not affect some of our activities at the county, but like for those departments that get a lot of money from the state and federal monies for like health departments, things like that, we were concerned. Well, with the money that came from the stimulus packages, that has helped out. That's actually replaced any monies that might have been missing from state and federal largesse and whatever. And actually, business has bounced back so well that we're not looking at any shortages this year, really. I mean, yeah, there might be some areas that don't have as much revenue as normal, but actually overall, it's going to be decent. I'll point out that the road commission was very wary of nobody driving. Of course, you don't take in tax money for gasoline if you're not driving anywhere. And those monies have really maintained very well. They'll be down only a little bit. And I'll point out again, I think we all know this, but the road commission completed all their projects this summer. I'm the liaison to that board. And they anticipate doing all the projects they have scheduled for next year. Now, for budgetary process for the county, we asked all our departments, elected officials to come in with a 15% budget reduction. And quite frankly, almost all of them were within target. They did a really good job. There's some people retiring they're not going to replace right away. But we have indicated to them that revenues for this year look like they'll remain intact, most of it. And then for next year, it looks like there'll be upwards to an 8% increase in SEV. Now, on a $2 billion county, that's quite a bit of money. So we're looking at property tax revenue it being decent. If business keeps up and the revenues come in for sales tax, single business tax, and all those activities, then next year could be okay. So we're letting our departments know that, well, if we do get into next year, that's about what it is, we can look at your budgets. We also have approximately 10 to 15 individuals that we're offering buyouts to in our county employment, and that looks like that'll be fulfilled. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at, of course, changing our retirement system, and we're in the process of doing that.
and that's a big project, and we'll have more on that later. Not to keep you, I know that a lot of people are really busy. Is there any questions? Anybody have any?
So John, on the retirement system that you guys did the change, it only affects what presently the elected and non-represented, correct?
Correct.
So the vast majority of them, is the plan to try and negotiate that
Yeah.
with the unions, or?
Yeah, I'll do this real quick.
I mean, easier said than done, I
Right?
realize.
Well, actually, we laid a lot of groundwork. And actually, the unions understand the predicament, not only in Shiawassee County, but a lot of the state is in for legacy costs for retirement. We have met with MERS. We've looked at several alternatives. If some people under 5 years have been with the county and they're in our MERS program, we may offer them a buyout to go into the new retirement program. The one we have presently under MERS is a defined benefit. We're going to a defined contribution. That, along with a 457. Defined contribution means that when our budget is done at the end of the year, we will have expended our funds, and those retirement funds we're obligated to pay. And at the end of the year, in December 31st, that budget's finished and we have no legacy costs for that previous year. Right now, we have legacy costs that will be going on for 40 years. It's really expensive. But what we're trying to do is work out. Now, we have a lot of people that have 20, 25 years in, and of course, they're not maybe in retirement yet. We'll maintain those programs that we presently have, but they'll be all closed to new hires.
Sure.
And it'll be a gradual workout process. With why we're offering the buyout this year, obviously for obvious reasons, if we get up to 15 people that will be leaving, then they'll be going under the MERS program for the retirement, but those people will be coming in under the new retirement system. So we're getting there. We met all,
John, how many county employees?
roughly. Okay, total county employees that, I had to work on this all week, and I've been with MERS all week, is between Pleasant View, there's county, sheriff, everybody, we have like 402 employees.
Okay.
We have a total of 1,260 retirees and employees. We have a top-heavy 3-to-1 ratio. A mature system is supposed to have 1-to-1 ratio. A young system is supposed to have 2-to-1 system, 2-to-1. We're 3-to-1, top-heavy, or 1-to-3 if you want to look at it that way. And again, this all took place over the last 65 years when the system got started, so on and so forth. And there's just, in last year, we paid out in retirement monies from MERS to our retirees from Shiawassee County, $7.9 million. And our payroll is, our regular payroll is 16 or 17 million that we base our MERS on. So it's and our MERS contribution for this coming year will be $6.5 million in a $19 million budget. And that will go up tremendously every year until it reaches $14 million. So there isn't any way that we can sustain this. The Treasury has notified just about all of us in the state that either you're going to have to change immediately, get something going immediately, work out your deals, or you can be New York City or Detroit. I mean, it's there. And even though if our revenues grow, we might be able to scratch around and find enough money for the next year and the year after that, but it'll be like 6 million, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 10.5, 12.5, up through who knows when. Way after I'm gone. Yeah. So, and again, I'll say this for commissioners, there's been a lot of bodies that have tweaked this and worked on this and so on and so forth, but it just has never been enough. Yeah.
Thank you.
John, if I could, John, in 1997, about the time I retired from the Attorney General, the state shifted from a defined contribution to
Defined benefit.
to
Defined
defined
contribution.
contribution.
That's true, yes.
Have you included as part of your analysis what has happened with the state retirement program?
Yeah. Initially, they didn't like it because with a defined benefit, you're gonna get a certain pay for when you retire based upon your last 3 years' salary. And for a lot of people, that they like that same payment every month, guaranteed until they die. Now, with defined contribution, that money will come to the employee. Let me give an example. If the state pays 4% of your wage, then if you put in 3% as an employee, let's say for the state, they will match that 3%. So that's 4, 3, 3, that's 10% that you could be putting in your retirement. We are also considering, that's similar to what we're gonna do. And what we're gonna also do is that if you, after 5 years of employment, you wish to keep, you have a 457, which is a governmental, like a 401, and if you put in 500, the county will match that 500. So there's a real good chance that you will, that'll build. But that will be your money. And after, we believe, I think it's two years, that money you put in, you get to keep that money. Presently, under the defined benefit through MERS, you have to have 10 years of employment to be vested. So there is some trade-offs. But again, and then I'll come to Tom, some of these people that had to go into that system, hi Julie, and they've had 25, 30 years now, they're retiring with like $1.6 million, 800,000. Low end might be 500 or 600 if they've kept up their contributions and they've added more. And so now they're going, but they are at the whims of the stock market, if it's in the stock market. If they go to Mount Pleasant to the casino, they could lose it all in one night. I mean, but it's called responsibility.
Right.
But the other system was okay. Don't get me wrong. It's just outstripped our ability to.
But again, if somebody leaves the county after 5 years, they have their money and it goes with them.
That's
Or
right.
right now, if you left after
It's
9
called
years,
Yeah.
everything there is gone. I mean, you have nothing.
I'll come back and I'll report on what we're looking at to take care of the debt. And there's several alternatives, but I'm right into that right now, and there's been some new laws passed. Ben Frederick helped with that, and to make sure that those people who do have MERS will have it when they retire. So we're looking at, bonding or investing or whatever for the MERS legacy costs, which about 35, 40 jurisdictions in the state have already done, counties and cities and so on.
Okay, John, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
hope I didn't bore you with all
Just
that.
one quick thing, John, I know you have to get to Woodhull. I just think, I want you guys to know, on that rezoning act that we had on the Slocum property, we are not pleased with the actions of the Board of Commissioners.
Oh,
And our recommendations being totally ignored, so.
I'm sorry, yeah, and actually, you had a great letter,
Yeah,
yep, and it
might
made,
as well send it as a paper airplane out the window, but yeah.
and it got the front page of the papers. Everything was, and you had some excellent discussion, Beth came, talked. I talked privately with each commissioner, but
Didn't help.
Well, I guess our biggest problem is that if we have a master plan, why isn't the county considering that when they make a decision?
oh, absolutely.
What's the point of us having a master plan, which we spend a lot of money
It's not
and a lot of
being
time on?
Sure, having a planning commission is a waste of time.
University of
Forget all
Michigan
of it.
did a study in December, and the Michigan local survey, jurisdictions engaged in land use planning or zoning Yes, our jurisdiction plans and/or zones for itself. 83% of the townships do it on their own. 16% of them have neither plans nor zone for themselves. And it's by population, 1,500 to 5,000, 87% of them do their own zoning, and 12% not. So we may be looking at something.
Yeah, this has not been just Prairie Township's problem
Sure.
recently.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and,
Do take back our disdain and our
I did.
unhappy wishes.
I did.
Yeah.
And I think especially Dan McMaster should be awfully careful, because his comments in the paper said that they're gonna change the county master plan and it's a done deal, and apparently our comment period doesn't even matter. I mean, you know, they do something and aggravate the wrong people and get the county in litigation, and the county will lose. You know,
Yeah, and quite frankly, his pro, other businesses for farm property is
well,
pretty well.
he's an arrogant jerk, but I mean, you know,
How many are on that board, John?
that's right, he's an arrogant jerk.
Is
On the
there 8 or
camera.
9?
There are 7 commissioners.
Seven.
Yes.
And 2 of them, you and Gary called. Well, I talked to you and then Gary, so that's it. The rest of them didn't, no time of day.
Yeah,
So we do take that to heart.
I agree. I mean,
I just wondered who cut your legs off.
yeah.
You have a good time with them.
Yes, thank you. I'll go get.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, John.
See you later.
Yes, have a good evening.
All right, you too. Take care. All right.
You have another
Yeah,
treasurer.
that's Julie Sorensen, our county treasurer. I assume she came to speak at public comment. We're still kind of there.
I just came from Wood.
Oh, did you? Well, your timing's good then, because really, we're gonna let you talk.
Is
Why
it
don't
good?
you, Mark, well, okay.
Is it Julie?
We're still in public comment.
Is it
I mean,
Julie?
We were.
Well, could we maybe hold her for a few minutes and get to the reports and let Jamie speak?
No,
so
that's
she-
okay.
Sure.
No, let her.
You okay?
I'm fine, no, let her speak.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, 'cause I have been to multiple meetings tonight. This is my
Okay,
only
well,
one,
and
so
I'm,
good.
I have time,
I'm fine.
I'm not rushing off anywhere else, so.
You're
good.
our new treasurer, right?
Okay, yes, I'm Julie Sorensen.
Okay.
Can I slip this down to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay? As my glasses are steaming and,
Oh, yeah, I remember you now.
thank you. Without the mask, thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm Julie Sorensen, and at this time I am the county treasurer. Of course, you're all familiar that when Tom retired last year, I was appointed in October to continue out his term. And I am running in November and hoping to be able to continue with the progress that we've made in the last year. We've come a long way in the office. Things are going well, and I'm enjoying this challenge, and just hope to be able to continue with it and keep at the work.
You've known Troy.
I've known Troy.
Julie and
Yeah.
I have worked together a long time.
We actually met when I was Rush Township treasurer for 13 years, so we met back when you first started.
Julie and I were on a committee together when we pushed the county to look at switching software systems.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know, and she was the new Rush Township treasurer.
Yeah, so I was Rush Township for 13 years, and then I started at the county back in 17 when Kathy left her position and moved to the city, and so I was chief deputy for 2.5 years, and then when Tom retired last year, I trying to fill in his shoes and finish out his term. I don't know if you have any questions for me about anything. Things are going.
Bills are getting paid and everything?
Bills are getting paid. I don't have a lot to do with that, though. That's the accounts payable department.
Yeah.
We handle the tax collection and the disbursements in our office, and
Well, it's pretty important to do the job efficiently and right, because it actually can cost the county a lot of money if things aren't deposited
well, that's good.
timely and things like
And
that.
that's a good point, and yep, I take deposits every day. We take care of the banking gets taken care of every day. That's been one of the big thorns in our side, has been the bank reconciliation. If you listen to county meetings and such, you know, how's the bank rec? How's the bank rec coming? It's all organized and looking really good right now. It was quite a project. I don't mean to make excuses but last year we did switch over not just to we had the BS&A for the tax program, but not for our overall general ledger, accounts payable. So last April, we switched over to that whole new system, and they did not set us up correctly. You would have thought we had 6 or 8 bank accounts, not over 50 bank accounts. So it was like taking all of your bank accounts and jumbling them all together and having to pull out this general ledger number goes to this bank account, and this general ledger number goes to this one. And so it's not something you could just do. So it was quite a process and quite a project. But we do have it where we want it to be and we need it to be. And now moving forward, it will be easy to keep it organized. So that's going well.
All I can say is Julie, even when she was chief deputy, has done several changes that have kind of moved us into the modern era a little bit more. I mean, Tom was a great guy, and I like Tom and everything, but you know, Tom was an old school accountant, and there's nothing wrong with ledger sheets and everything else, but we don't have the staff anymore to work in ledger sheets, you know, and we have to computerize, and we've done a lot of things that have saved us hours of work here and stuff.
There are a couple changes. Tom didn't allow partial payments on taxes, and only very rarely. Sometimes with an individual, sometimes he would. So every once in a while there was an exception, but we've found that the public really appreciates being able to make partial payments. It's easier for some to come up with $200 a month, $100 versus, oh, we need $2,300 all at once, or don't bother. So that's working out really nicely for people to be able to make payments, get them on schedule. I call people, if I don't see them for a while, I'll check in and, hey, I'm not hounding you, but I'm concerned, we only have 5 more months before this needs to be taken care of, so.
And the beauty is the computer does the work. I mean, it's not like we have to break all this out by hand. We hit a button and it calculates it.
Right,
so
the computer takes care of all that. And we also accept credit cards now, and Tom didn't ever want to go to that, and that's worked out really nicely.
You can get stuck in what you think is the correct way to do things and not realize that.
Right, and I don't mean to speak
No.
ill of Tom at all.
Tom had his system and stuff,
Right.
but
And
we
he's a
as
good
a
man.
society have moved a different direction, whether we can argue it's good or bad, but I mean, like I said, when we used to have to break all these things down on ledger sheets and all that was fine, but, we used to have huge accounting staffs and, you've got 3 people in your office now?
The commissioners are maybe going to cut one more for me this year, and it will be myself, my chief deputy, and 1.5 girls up front.
Not very many.
I am hoping they rethink that,
No,
because it'll be awful.
There's not a lot of time to do a lot of handwork there, so.
Right. I'm hoping, but we're working on the budget, and you know how that can be.
Anybody else have any other questions for Julie?
Thank you for coming, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
All right, good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Good seeing you.
Drive careful. Okay. All right, reports. Troy, Sheriff's Report.
Last month, 139 calls, of them 43 were traffic stops.
Okay. Mark, Cecil?
We are in what we call Station 3 in the city of Durand for the second car over in that area.
Okay.
That car is guaranteed 12 hours a day and normally runs 24. Now, Sunday I was listening to the scanner and all 3 ambulances, the one in Perry and both of those 2 were in Antrim or Perry Township on calls at the same time.
Wow.
So, but we have a problem in that building is that the door is tall enough for our ambulances to get into, and we're trying to get that worked out right now. We're getting a roof put on the station in town, but nobody can do it this year, so they're gonna patch it for us because literally it is a waterfall.
Oh.
inside the building when it rains.
Okay.
So that's getting, they're patching it, and then there's been a bid let already for repairs for the new roof. And we did pay a bonus to the full-time staff and the part-time staff, COVID money.
COVID bonus, okay.
Yeah, some extra per hours for April, May, and June.
It was pass-through money, right? I mean, you got money from the.
Yeah, we didn't get all of what we gave them, but we got
Okay.
most of it. And so, you know, as we move forward with the $65, as that comes online, that'll help us to maintain operations and stuff.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, I've got a DDA and zoning, unfinished business DDA, I'll talk more about that. We will have our DDA meeting October, Wednesday, help me Kelly,
Third
20.
Wednesday?
no, third Wednesday of the month. It's at 6:30.
21.
The 21st, October 21st here, and we may have the engineer here possibly to speak. Justin will be here. I do want to say at the DDA, at the last meeting 3 months ago, they wanted me to paint the lines to make the turn on Bennett. That is completed as of yesterday. They put the new arrow down. The lines are there so we can make a turn. They all wanted it, and we got that done. They had to go the road commission had to go measure it, make sure it was acceptable. It was, and it's now complete, okay? And then as far as zoning, I don't have the file, but Kelly, there was only 2 or 3 things in there. There was a couple junk and debris, right? And then there was a couple licenses. That was about it, right? Okay. And we're going to talk about the zoning next. John, the commissioner, left. The library.
Hi there. I'll make it quick. I know you've got a lot to do.
Okay.
So, so we wrapped up our fiscal year actually in the middle of the summer. So I have my annual report for everybody. And I'm going to hand out, we are in the middle of a strategic plan, and I created a survey online, but I was also asked by my board to hand these out to all of the municipal board members in paper form with a self-addressed stamped envelope, so if you can, even if you don't use the library, we want to know why.
Oh.
So, or you can go online and fill it out. But it's important that we get patron, or I guess feedback from users, library users, and non-library users too. So that's why you're getting that. There's that, you're welcome. There's that for you. Okay, so, let's see, we've had a pretty good year. As you know, we probably know, we had to close down, obviously, like everybody else in March. We were on track for, really blowing out the statistics from last year for circulation, program attendance, everything, but that had to shut down, obviously, in March. We were shut down for about 3 months, which was very difficult because obviously we have people coming in and visiting the library, but we had to cancel all of our programs, our summer reading program, we had to cancel the in-person stuff. We were able to reopen on June 8th, which was the earliest that libraries were allowed to reopen. And that is the day that we reopened because we took those few months, staff worked really hard on making sure that we were in compliance with all of the protective gear that we had to have in order to reopen. That was a lot of work. So we did reopen, and there's still libraries that have not reopened yet. But we've been open since June 8th. And we quickly pivoted from in-person programs to virtual events. And we did a summer reading program completely online. So we had to do a lot of learning that system and making it fun and interactive online. A lot of the kids were burned out just from doing virtual stuff for school. But we ended up having about 319 kids sign up. Last year we had over 800. So we just, we didn't get as many signups, obviously. But right now, I would say we're at about 50 to 60% normal foot traffic coming into the library, which is really good. Right now, we're not really having in-person programming. Some of our smaller book clubs and knitting groups and that kind of thing, if it's under 10, we are letting them use the library. And our friends in the library group. So we have a little bit of programming going on, but not story times and not our big, cooking classes and that type of thing that we would normally offer now. But some highlights this year. Well, the good thing is we passed our library millage in August. That was exciting. I never anticipated that we would have to go through a millage during a pandemic. So that was exciting, and I would say the average was about 60% district-wide yes votes, which isn't too bad. So I was happy to see that support. Another highlight was our new Lothrop branch was formerly located in a elementary school, and that moved. The Hazelton Township really supported us moving out of the library prior to everything shutting down, and they are renting a building for us downtown. It's a beautiful building. It's the perfect location. So that kind of got stopped, but we were able to move in fairly quickly with a lot of planning and painting and stuff. And we moved in the middle of July, and it's been a nice little gem for the community of New Lothrop to have a building downtown. Last year we upgraded all of our patron and staff computers. They were about 7 years old, so we purchased over 50 computers and all of the software and hardware and all the stuff that goes along with it. So that was a big project. We added a lot of content to our digital historical collection, so if you have not gone online, we're always looking for donations, or if somebody has old pictures or any type of documents, historical documents, we like to scan them and put them on our website, and they're searchable. So for genealogists and researchers and stuff, it's really cool. You should check it out. So all of our local communities that we have branches in have documents on there. We're always looking for more because we don't have as much as I think we should have. I know that people out there have that stuff. Another big thing is the Community District Library eliminated overdue fines. We went fine-free. That's been a trend in public libraries over the course of the last few years. And patrons are ecstatic about it. It just started in August, so we'll see how that goes. So, one more thing is we finally have an app for your phone to search our library catalog, place holds, see our events. So now you don't have to get on your browser, type in the library, and go through our website, which does need to be updated, so maybe I'll talk to her about that. But it's going to be much more user-friendly, because a lot of people don't get on websites on their phone, especially, millennials and Gen Z. They don't use websites as much. They basically get on their app and they want everything at their fingertips, and I'm getting to be that way too. So this is going to be a huge improvement, and I think it's going to really increase the use of our collections. Let's see. So we also received a few grants last year. We received a technology and innovation grant through the Mid-Eastern Michigan Library Cooperative for $7,100. We did purchase some of our digitizing equipment for our historical collections. We're also purchasing a bunch of talking books, which I won't I won't give you the, I won't play it for you, but the library board loved it. These are kind of new age talking books, you know, you can recharge them, and it's like a narrator who does just fabulous voices, and then it asks questions at the end, because, you know, not every kid is read to, so this supplements, you know, a lot of kind of lap time, and, you know, they're not going to be looking at their iPad, they're going to be reading along on a book. These are not cheap, so we're going to use a big chunk of our grant money. This is something we normally wouldn't purchase because we wouldn't have the funds without the grant. So, and we did receive $2,300 for PPE through the CARES Act. And we also received, this was a competitive grant, but we received $6,000, no, I think it was $5,000 for a digital inclusion grant. And what I intend to purchase, I'm still trying to decide what would get used the most, but I intend to purchase either circulating tablets or Chromebooks with that. Not sure what direction I'm going to go, but it has to be used for something that would help people connect to the internet or do, you know, schoolwork or that type of thing. So I'm not going to go over these numbers like I would normally go over them, but the circulation is the first box here. That's how many materials that leave our library every year. It's lower, obviously, because we couldn't circulate materials from March to June. Our collection is pretty much on point last year. We try to maintain the same numbers. We did do a big weed out of older, we constantly are weeding, but we took some time over the quarantine period to go through and weed a lot of our collections when there wasn't public in the building. Our revenue in the expenses, we always are very, you know, we run, like I say, we run a tight ship, so we take in, we don't spend any more than we take in, and in fact, we saved a little bit of money this year. When you go to the next page, these are important statistics for me. It's, you know, how many items have we circulated through the year, how many people use the computers, that type of thing. I would say computer use, it drops every year because more people are getting, you know, devices and computers and phones, and our event attendance was obviously a little lower, as was summer reading, sign-ups, and library visits. That can't be right. The library visits are not right. We had more than 5,000. It might be 55,000. So I'll update that and let Mark know, because that is not right.
The visits?
Yes, that's not right. No, that's got to be 55,000.
When you talk about computer use, I mean, the people that use that truly don't have another option.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it's very vital.
Yes, yeah.
And during the time that you were closed, all but 2 of your locations, people were able to pull in the parking lot or whatever and hook to the internet, is that correct?
Correct, yep. The only 2 locations were the school locations. It depends on because we rely on the school network at those locations. Now, obviously, we only have 1 location left in the school. And we did advertise that. You let us know that Justin Horvath wanted to know more information about that, and I think he got that information out to people. Because there were people who just don't have the internet and they didn't have anywhere else to go.
Right.
So, and you know, we're seeing a lot of use now in homeschool kids or virtual students who come in and use the library, especially for printing and obviously research and that type of thing that they have to do for their curriculum. So that's an area that we really need to expand our services. So I'm hoping that I get surveys back from people that tell me, you know, things that they would like to see that I don't necessarily see or staff doesn't necessarily see. That's about it. That's what I have. And if you want to look at the last page, these were some of our programs that we had before we closed down. We have some really great volunteers who are story time tellers and you know, we had all sorts of things. Like I said, we have cooking classes, the Sloan Museum and Planetarium came to do programs and science programs and all that, Mrs. Claus. So it was a fun year up until March. But we're bouncing back, so,
Good, good.
yeah.
So, Amy, how are things been going? Has there been any more problems in Morris with the building or anything, or?
I don't remember his name, but the gentleman from Antrim Township, Mike Godfrey, he fixed the back door. He more than fixed it. I mean, he enclosed the whole space back there, so that fixed that problem. Sometimes there's a little bit of water coming in the front, but of the building, and it's the same situation, but it's not as bad, and it's only during a hard rain, probably when the rain's coming in, and that door is pretty old, but I was very thankful to the village, Morris Village, for, you know, ponying up the money to do that. I know that they don't have a lot of money in their fund balance, but it was appreciated.
Everything else, didn't you?
Pardon?
You had to have gutter work done on a bunch.
Yep, he did the gutter work, and he added a whole door. And
Yeah, you put a storm door on it, yeah.
he enclosed it though, so, and because he had to pull stuff out because it was rotted. I don't think he had to do anything with the cement, because you know how the cement was, there you go.
Yeah, the
Sloped
water
toward
ran.
the door is
Yeah, the
horrible.
water ran into the building, not away from it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. But that so far has not been an issue,
Good.
so.
Has it been a year since you've been here?
It's been over a year. Normally I try coming in August or September,
Okay.
but it's just been, my kids are in virtual school and that's killing me every night. I have to go home and spend like 3 hours doing that. So I've been a little busy in my evenings, but this is the first meeting that I've been to, so.
Okay.
I'm glad that Patty texted me because I had intended to look at the schedule and, oh, it's happening tonight. And I'm like, I think I have time tonight. I'll try to make it tonight. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I know that you had a full schedule agenda, and thank you for fitting me in.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Jenny, the lady in Morris, when Mark and I were over there on that, just the nicest lady.
Yeah.
She is.
Miss Jenny is what they call her, and if I ever have to sub there, they don't like it because they don't know me, and they want to know what Miss Jenny's up to. So yeah, it's a nice community.
Imagine if she had the facility of any of the other libraries, what could be done there. It's such a. She does the best you could do with that small little building.
She does, and the people who live there really heavily use that branch. And when we were closed, for a lot of people, that's their lifeline, and that was really tough for some of those people. But I'm just glad that we're open and there for people. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for
I
coming.
appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yep. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, let's see. Troy, I-69 trade.
So our meeting would normally be next week, but they canceled it due to lack of agenda items.
Agenda, okay. Mark, SEDP.
Basically, you got everything, Justin.
What we talked about, yeah. Planning Commission.
Okay.
Oh, Mark.
On the minutes from the planning commission meeting, there's letters back there copies to Ben Fredericks and to Tom Barrett. And they have indicated, the rest of the planning commission board has indicated that they would like to meet with the township board to find out what direction that we're going with, just the same things that Troy just talked to John about. Because frankly, they're pretty frustrated in the planning commission. And it's understandable. But some of the ideas they have are probably not within our reach, like Charter Township and things like that. But they're talking like maybe we should do our own administration of building permits and zoning and so forth. And I think it needs a lot more thinking and consideration and looking at before we ever approach that.
Well, it's one of those things, once you go down that road, you can't go back.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's that thing, but I mean, it's, yes, I think it's something it's worth exploring at least. I mean, you know, the real concern that I had is, you know, we had heard reports before, like when in Woodhull and Bennington had problems, and they said, well, Woodhull doesn't have designated commercial areas, or, well, Bennington doesn't have a designated commercial area, or, well, they don't provide us much feedback at, you know, the township level. None of those were applicable excuses there. I mean, I sent them a letter that I don't think it could have been any more clear, and they said, nope, we're changing it, and what concerns me even more going forward is they have indicated that they are doing a mass change on M52 to allow commercial.
Right.
And I don't know if they're going all the way to the Ingham County line or what they're doing. We haven't seen the draft yet, but what is really concerning is what at least one of the commissioners said in the newspaper there was, you know, this is what we're going to do. I mean, this thing hasn't even been put out for comment yet. And
Well,
of course,
I think that, you know, and this was my suggestion to them, was that it would be good to have members, and I've asked for this ever since I've been on the Township Board and the Planning Commission, you know, the administrator of zoning and building permits has never visited one of these meetings or one of the Planning Commission meetings. And
Pete's been to one of our meetings.
not since I've been on the board.
He was at a meeting, he wasn't at a township board meeting, he came to a meeting one time, I think it was about trans fleet, when we were trying to get permits. I think it was before you were there. I was the one, I think it was Sid and I were there, but,
Well,
I mean, yes, I see what you're saying, I mean, they just.
I just feel that we're expected to work with them, and they aren't very give and take, you know, and I just don't like the idea that they don't consider, you know, and it's just like I said to the Slocums. Number one, my whole issue was spot zoning.
Right.
And the reason that was an issue is it wasn't like we didn't have other zoning available in the township to fit that need. I realized they owned the property, and I sympathize with them for that, but it wasn't like the Woodhull or the Bennington situation. We had property available. They
Didn't want to pay for it.
Well, and I understand that, but the county didn't consider the residents that lived there that made the meetings. They didn't consider the fact that now we have an orphan chunk of residential property between two commercial chunks that they literally could come back and say, well, there's commercial on either side of us, why can't we make all this commercial? And that's, you know, those are things that I just felt that they didn't consider enough. So I do agree with the Planning Commission that meeting with the Township Board is not a bad thing. I have said to both of you guys that we should call the meeting as a Township Board, rather than the Planning Commission call the meeting and we visit them.
We've had joint meetings,
Right.
none of you guys have been here, but we've had joint meetings with the planning.
But, and I don't have a problem with that, I just,
Well, why don't we, I mean,
but we have,
not in the next month here,
No,
I don't want
not with
to
elections.
push Kelly off the cliff here, but once we get past the election here,
I'm teetering right now.
we'll set up a time, but I think it's worth discussing.
the other thing that we had was the sign down at the old Chinese restaurant, down past you.
Yes.
They claimed that the people that own the property now claim they didn't have any money to take the signpost out and stuff, and I see that there's a letter included in our packet. Oh, this was from last year. They took the sign faces off in the framework, but they left the pole up. And,
I think the framework's still there too.
is it? Okay.
I think they just took it off.
I mean, that sign's been there longer than I've been alive.
Well,
I mean, wasn't a friend of somebody really concerned about this?
Oh, yeah. So,
I guess overall, as long as the county's doing the planning, then they have the ultimate say, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
So to discuss any further, you know, we just need to decide
Well, I don't think
what we want to do. I did drive down and talk to the township supervisor south of us in Locke Township, a very nice lady. She's the supervisor, but she's been zoning for at least 9 years.
She's been a zoning administrator.
Maybe more. She gave me the name of Mark Eidelson, Eidelson, land plan, recommended by the MTA in Okemos. That's who did their zoning ordinance. And she gave me his phone number. But anyway, we talked, and one of the concerns we had was lawsuits that might come about. And she, since they've done their own zoning, has only had 2 lawsuits, which they won both of them, and they were both trailer parks coming in the area. That was the only issues that she had, that she spoke of. But anyway, I did talk to the other gentleman, was Steve Swire, over in Wausau Charter. Both of these zoning ordinances, for some reason, are 149 pages. And it was done by Doug Pick, his bunch. So, of course, when I talked to Steve, and he called Doug, and Doug called me and said he wanted to talk to us about any questions.
Yeah,
But
he offered it, and I'm
now, I will say that over the last year, in conversations with officials from other townships, there is more than one township that is considering leaving the county.
Could very well be.
And either going jointly, now, 2 of the townships border us that I've talked to,
Woodhall.
and
it's no secret who's not happy with it.
And,
Yeah.
you know, they said maybe we could do something like some kind of a joint
Possibly.
employee to do that or something.
Right, you could share a zoning administrator, we each have our own ordinance, but we could share an administrator.
So, you know, I guess what I'm saying is we're not the only one that is discouraged by the county's lack of consideration of our views.
There's always kind of been problems on and off. What has never happened before is a blatant throw out the land use plan. This is uncharted territory. I mean, the county's ignored recommendations, and sometimes the township board has made recommendations against the township's land use plan. And they were upset at the county, but the county really did the right thing because they followed it.
Sure.
At this point, and it used to be the county's land use plan, they basically took the maps from the 14 townships and kind of pieced it all together. Well, it sounds like the plan is now they're just going to draw their own, and that's what they're going to do. Now, it hasn't been put out for comment yet, and when we get it for review, maybe they'll listen. I wouldn't lay money on it, but what they've done in this situation is uncharted territory.
Okay.
Well, we need to keep this as a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Financial reports and pay the bills, Troy.
Okay, you got your bills listed in front of you. You'll see in there's a transfer out to the Township Investment Fund. That is the net proceeds from the sale of the 3 properties.
Oh, yeah.
So I moved that to it's just cash in the investment fund, so it's liquid and available if we need it for grant money and matching. But so that was our final net after all, recording fees and all that good
So
stuff.
that's all done?
That's all.
All 3 owners?
All 3 are signed, everybody's happy, that project is done. Other than that, you've got your list. I mean, this isn't a revenue sharing month or anything, so there's really not a lot of activities.
Any questions on the bills?
Did we get, this wasn't a month for revenue sharing?
Right, so what I just said, next month. First of odd number month.
Okay.
Odd number months is one.
Do I hear a move to accept?
Motion.
Motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Butch, seconded by
Yep, second.
Mark. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Carmen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, couple things, public comments, just a couple of things. I had a couple phone calls from the public on the Bath and Beardsley intersection about some wrecks that we've had, and actually one happened last week. And the sign people made a sign here at the road commission condition, and it basically says cross traffic does not stop, and they put that beneath the stop sign, and they put a reflector on there, and looks good. And so
I
that's,
thought we were talking about solar.
no, this was. the
Well,
one they
that's
were
what,
running.
his
This is-
citizens suggested that, the road commission is gonna do that.
Oh.
This was the recommendation by.
You mean to have a flashing lights on the
You were
side?
seeing, and
I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't help, but I mean, that's out of the price range.
You see the far sign before you see the first sign, that's the, when you're going north, that's the problem, and people were not stopping, and that's why, it was 3 accidents within the last 6 months. 2 of them minor, but one was a total last week, so nobody hurt.
My guess is their next step, if they felt that didn't work, is they'd make it a 4-way stop.
Turnabout.
So, so anyway, I thank them for, you know, the quicker response, you know, and all of that.
Well, no, the next step would be to lower the speed limit
Oh.
of approaching that intersection.
And then the
Well, you're already starting to break though.
And
Yeah, see, that's why I think a 4-way stop wouldn't be a big deal, because you're already got a stop sign right there.
Probably wouldn't, because you're going
But,
to stop.
I mean, the citizen had suggested flashing lights and all, I mean, the road commission is, I'm not saying it's not a valuable idea, but the road commission is gonna do that.
You know, lights around the sign, you know, with a.
They just don't think, if they started doing that at every intersection, they have anything.
We'll see how this goes. And then the second thing I had was from the governor, Governor Whitmer.
We have a governor?
Governor Whitmer urges families to practice safety during the fire prevention month. And this actually comes from Michigan Department of Licensing, because of my license. But basically, this month is the State Fire Marshal, Michigan Fire Safety Organization. Most of Michigan's fire deaths happen overnight. 50% of fire deaths resulting from fires starting in the living room, 17% of fires start in the kitchen, and 16% of fires start in the bedrooms. They create a fire escape plan, practice it with your families, have family smoke alarms in every bedroom, level the home, and check the alarms this month, test the button, have fireplace chimneys, wood stoves, and inspect it annually by a professional, clean them if necessary, and the last thing is, of course, caution in, well, 2 things. Caution in using space heaters, and make sure you're 3 foot away from them if they're running, and
Well, you don't have to be 6 feet?
the last thing, 3 foot away from anything that can burn. Clean the dryer lid out of each load, and of course, make sure your fire extinguishers are checked. So that was good. I thought I appreciated that information that I got. So there you go. That's on the 2nd of October. Okay. Any more public comments, Troy?
Nope.
Okay, unfinished business, DDA water extension update. Okay, I give you a drawing. Trevor is working on, he met Friday with John Slocum on Ellsworth, where they're going to put in the other well, and he's getting the numbers. He's supposed to have the numbers yesterday for that. They're working on the final engineering proposal. The drawings will change a little bit to include the new wellhead on the south side of Ellsworth, and then the other thing was the water tower. I gave you the words he wrote about the water tower, needing that for the fire suppression. We own, the DDA does own the land west of the barber shop. That land would be good for a water tower. We could put our name, Perry Township, on a water tower.
Well, you know, originally.
People would know we had water. Justin loved it. Justin and Trevor's including that. The problem we had with the gentleman that Jan from the fleet was, he thought the neighbors might be upset. He told Justin last week, and I said, well, we don't want anybody upset, so we had property. Plus, we would have had to get an estimate, and we didn't have time for the grant development. Since we own the land, it makes it so much easier. Of course, we had the swamp land over there, what we have over by the greenhouse, but this will be better, and Joe Waddy was all for it, and so was Brian Feifel on the DDA board. So just let you know that the development, the drawings will change a little bit, so.
We needed to do something quickly to get this EDA grant,
And,
so.
and Jan bought that property, did he leave that out, or was that in?
That was in part of the
All that was talk.
Okay.
I mean, there was all this grand talk, and yes, nothing was ever done. And when it was broached again, well, he wasn't sure, so in an effort to move things along, we can commit the property we already own. So,
But Justin did tell me that, he talked to him about, $1 and all that, and it didn't sound like that's gonna really be an issue, but I didn't want to pursue it with
the conclusion was it wasn't really big enough for a fire station anyway, right? The DDA's property there.
Right.
And actually, it would be a reasonable use of it, and they are correct, it's not a bad spot for advertising. For on the freeway. So,
Okay, and then the swing.
again, we're a long ways from getting a grant here, so but we had to keep things moving.
Yep.
Expecting that later this week or first of the week, so. Slocum property update, we pretty much talked about
I
that.
think we've talked
Go
All
about that.
right, so, check audit, Troy.
Okay, so in your box was our audit. It took some pushing and prodding, but it was done on the day it was due. But they got it turned into the state the day it was due, so. So you have a copy of the audit. The insert in there are the 2 pages. One is their, independent auditors report, the other is their letter of comments and recommendations. There was nothing new on any of their recommendations. Most of them are things they've recommended to us before that would be fine if we had greater staff.
Sure.
It's one of those things you should have somebody outside of the check writing process, verifying these things. Well, the 4 of us that can sign checks are the 4 of us that, do all of those things. So, things that the county government can do because they have a finance department and we don't. And they recognize that. First pages of the audit are the management discussion and analysis, where it just summarizes our year's activities. I'll just kind of highlight, like on page 3. Overall, at the end of the year, our general fund balance increased by $50,000 last year, so that's a healthy thing. Outside of that, there's no problems, there's no recommended changes or anything. Does anybody have any questions or anything on it?
Nope.
Tom, we have a spare copy, we'll get you one too.
Okay, with
If
that,
not, we
any
need a
questions?
motion to accept it. It's already been sent to the state.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Perry Township financial statement dated March 31st, 2020, by the independent auditors, Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett.
I'll second.
Bushel seconded it, roll call vote, Kelly?
Francis Griffith,
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Folk?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
What is it, the county hasn't turned theirs in on time 5 years in a row or something like that?
Good job, Troy. Okay, Kelly, Sexton Foundation.
Okay, I had a request from Mike to extend, back in May, we approved the foundations for the Sexton, that they would capture all of the costs that we were charging for, the installation of the foundations because of an increased amount, that it costs for concrete. He wanted to know if we would consider extending that again. And I told him that I would bring it to the board. I believe that at this point, they are done doing foundations for the year.
Oh.
So,
There's like 4 pending ones that would apply to this.
right.
And so, I guess at least my thought was, we would go ahead and extend it to cover these 4, and there won't be any more for the rest of the year, so we just extend this for the end of the year, and then we can, as we get into the spring and budget time, we can evaluate whether we need to do a change in our fee schedule, or what we want to do there.
So
If that seems reasonable to the board.
So save it until December 31st, 2020.
And that would be my recommendation, but it's whatever we want to do.
Works for me.
You want to make that in the form of a proposal?
I can,
Recommendation?
sure.
All right, Troy. Seconded by Mark. All in favor?
We should vote.
Roll call vote, Kelly.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Folk?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Okay.
With the way building materials have gone, I think the situation's actually gotten worse, not better.
He has also asked me to research the cost of opening and closings of cremations. And so he said we're kind of on the low side, so I haven't had time to do that yet.
I don't know about that, because under state law, you can go take your own relatives, if you already have somebody buried in a casket, you can take a shovel and go in there and dig a hole above the casket and bury your relative if they're cremated. I went through all that when my parents died.
Really?
Yep.
Not in our cemetery, you
No,
can't.
you can't.
Well, you can by state law.
Well, you can't by Perry Township. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I mean, in
I'd
essence,
like to see that law.
in essence, I don't know that charging anything for cremation is,
I'm not sure that's.
unless somebody has to do it for them.
Well, that's our rule. We don't allow anybody but us to do it in our cemetery.
Right.
Right, that's our, yeah.
But yes, you're correct, you can put cremations on top of full burials, you can put 3. But yeah, our rules are that only our authorized people do work at our cemetery.
That's fine. I'm just saying that we have to be somewhat careful, but whatever you bring to us, you know we're gonna.
Well, this is kind of one of those things, I mean, I will, we can review it for next year when we have to renew their agreement and everything else.
You get past the election.
I will.
So, Kelly, website rebuild.
Okay,
So we got a crash in the website.
No,
Oh,
our website is very old and out of date, and the website,
The theme, which is the background of it, which, I mean, it's 10, 12 years old, is no longer supported by the software company. So there's some things that we're starting to now work right on. So we need to talk.
right,
Well, can I suggest we table the website until you talk to Caroline and see what kind of
No.
money's available?
no,
because
okay.
it's in the works. The website theme was $69, and the support for that is an additional $20. Now,
20 a month or 20 a year or what?
$20 for
20
1 year,
bucks forever?
for 1 year.
Per year.
So,
good to me.
Tim, who is the guy that does our website, he is working right now to decipher all of that stuff, and it is gonna cost us some money for his work, of course. I don't know how much, but the website theme that we picked out, he said would work very well for our township. So, I asked him to give me an idea of what it would cost for his work, and he hasn't gotten back with me because he's got another job during the week, and he's been working on our stuff on the weekends. So I would recommend that maybe we approve up to, what do you think, $1,000?
Have you got it in your budget?
For the township?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think we would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it costs.
I don't think it would cost $1,000, but, and if there's grant money, we'll research it and we'll get, we'll use it if we need to.
I mean, if there's money in roughly an account that makes sense for this in the budget, and,
The thing is I have to be able to post stuff on our website.
Yeah.
It's a legality thing. It needs to be taken care of. We'll take care of the grant money. If it's available, great, we'll get it. If it's not, then
Yeah,
it's
the
not.
problem is we had some of the postings that have to be on there that weren't showing up. So we had to fix that.
I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know that there's any action needed on the board that you can't just,
Well, I think Kelly's concerned if we go over 500.
Right.
That's
If
the thing.
his part of the bill is over $500, then we should approve that.
Yeah, and if you have it already approved, then you can have the flexibility to do what needs to be done to get this thing up and
then
running.
I'd second the motion that you made for $1,000.
So not to exceed 1,000,
And if it does exceed 1,000, then we will talk about it next time.
there you go. All right, motion been made by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Vote?
Troy Carmeling.
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes.
Okay. Snow plowing contract, snow. Ooh, that's a four-letter word, that's almost like boat. Snow and boat.
So I got a text message from Anthony Carhoff, he's the guy that does our mowing. He wanted to bid the cemetery,
Okay,
but he wasn't able to get a bid put together for tonight. So I also contacted Bob Reed. He said that he would be willing to do the snow plowing for the same amount that he charged us last year. So I guess the question is do we want to just let Bob do it again one year, or do we wait on the cemetery part of it to see what Anthony?
Well, the fact of the matter is, we're probably okay for, till November.
Probably.
God, I hope
I
we
would
are.
think so, Troy. Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna open it up, we either have to do an extension with Bob or open it up.
Right.
I mean, that, we can't,
And we
we
did.
can't pick and choose out of there. So,
Let's go ahead and make your proposal. Have to be like, well, that's November. Oh,
well, our
Can we get
meeting,
something printed this month out?
well, I think,
And then
yeah.
take bids?
I mean, what it would be, our meeting's the week after the election. Remember, we
Yeah.
moved our.
Yes, we did, yeah. Let's do that.
But that means I've got to get all these bids together before that, so. Okay,
Maybe Mark will.
I can help you bring it back.
okay, so we're gonna,
Let's
Table it?
let's solicit some proposals, yes. I mean, there's Tony, I assume he would be interested in the township parking lot too.
I would assume so.
I mean, we want the same person doing both if we can, I assume.
Worst case, Butch would come over with his blade if we get it.
Yeah, maybe on election day we'll have 2 feet of snow, who knows?
We did put this, I think we did
Wishful
put
thinking.
the last year,
Did we?
for snow plowing, yeah.
I'll make a move that we go ahead and try to get.
We
2
don't
or
need a
3.
motion, we'll just table
Go
it.
ahead and make a
Table it
motion
To get bids, okay.
to send out for bids
All right.
for 2021. Right?
Yep, 2020 to 2021.
We don't need a motion, Mark, we can just
Okay,
table
we'll just do it. Hall disinfection after election.
Okay,
This is the best thing I've seen since
so
peanut butter pie. That's a good buy. That's a good price, Kelly.
we have a lot of people coming in and out of here at election time. And Troy thought maybe that it would be a good idea to have this place fogged afterwards. So what we're gonna do is leave all of the voting booths up. And this guy is gonna come in and just fog it. You know, sanitize this area.
Fogging the whole building.
Yes, they're gonna do the offices, they're gonna do the bathrooms and the kitchen and all of the open areas that people are gonna be in. And so I just wanted to bring this to the board just so that you can see that it's gonna cost probably $250 to do it. But, because of the COVID stuff going on,
We don't need to take action or anything, we're just.
We're basically almost required to do it, yeah.
Right, but I mean, there is no sense having to have all of our people go around here and hose things down, let somebody come in and do it. I mean, there's gonna be
Yeah.
we'll have to.
hundreds to not 1,000 people coming through here on election day, so.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to show you what the plan was and that's what the cost would be.
Looks good. Any more comments? Tom?
Is there any concern about the effects of the Supreme Court decision?
We talked about it in the office.
Well, I mean, we weren't I think the thing that, at least that the Township Association and stuff is, they're concerned about is the Open Meetings Act part allowing the virtual meetings.
Zoom.
Like Zoom meetings and all that. And it's my understanding that there's some differing, MTA's official opinion is it should be null and void immediately. You should be meeting in person and not doing a Zoom. You should not be risk doing a Zoom meeting. It's my understanding, I have a relative who works for the state and that they've been advised, internalized through the Attorney General's office that for state boards that are subject to the Open Meetings Act, they're okay doing Zoom meetings for 21 days still. So, but we haven't been doing any of that anyway, and we've been meeting in person, so it hasn't been a big deal. And I think with their change to this, You know, technically, we weren't supposed to have more than 10 people, you know, which we've always been right about that, but now with the change to square footage, we figured, what, we could have about 50
About
people in
50.
here, so we're fine having our meetings, and we're all spaced apart.
But we wanted you to hear how our meeting was going, so you could, you know.
However, the people that are coming in for meetings need to adhere to that as well. So we have to try to promote that.
I mean, at the end of the, is there 21 days for the orders, or isn't there 21 days?
It's not 21 days, that's a period of time in which the user
The lawyers.
has a chance to
Appeal.
get
or whatever.
appeal together.
Okay.
That doesn't say, a court acts through its order, through its orders, and my understanding is the order was dated as of last Friday, I think it was.
So technically, MTA is right, they're done, the executive orders are void then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So the guy
concern-
that won is the barber in Wausau.
Well, you know, for instance, the High School Athletic Association changed the attendance rules for football games starting today
Oh, okay.
to 1,000 people in the stadium as spectators as opposed to 2 per athlete.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, there's,
Yeah.
I think most people, most organizations have decided that stuff is, you know,
Well,
important. Of course, she's
The
come
21
back with the
days
health
is
department.
is not a serious argument. Here's the concern, as I see it, and I read through the decision. There's reference to the statutory authority for the various state agencies, including the Department of Health. And they are part of the executive branch. The ruling, the court may have said that the particular statutes that the governor relied on did not, the one statute, the 1945 statute, did not authorize her actions. You've got other statutory authority for county health departments, state health department, public health, and so on. And they may want to issue orders. In my view, they've at least got to look to their own statute and see if it justifies, if it gives them enough authority. The whole basis for what the Supreme Court did, and when I used to represent the DNR years ago, one of the easiest things for a government attorney to do is to go in court. Somebody objects to a rule of the DNR or some other agency. The easiest thing to do is go and argue for like a case, a Westerville case that I dealt with. If the legislature just said, we authorize the rule and it's got to be reasonable, just like the court dealt with it in this case, then a court would say, okay, yeah, the state rule is justified and it's legal. But that argument is not going to be able to be made anymore by state agencies, because the broader the authority, as they said in the decision, the broader the authority of the government, the governor decides to ban broad activity throughout the whole state, there's got to be more precise standards to judge her action. It's because it's essentially a legislative act that she's taking, and with our separation of powers, that's the problem. The question is, these agencies, the public health department, the county health departments, have their own statutes. The question in my mind is, do they have sufficient standards in their statutes? I read somewhere where one of the county agencies said, well, we have more precision in our statute, so we're going to go ahead. And frankly, I think a lot of people don't want to, they recognize there was some basis for what the governor did. It may have been too broad too authoritarian, but there was some basis for it.
Sure.
So a lot of people are complying. I think what you've done tonight, I've seen some, like I've seen Ingham County's regulation, which is the separation and where mask and you've got so many square feet or so many people per square feet. So I think people just kind of accept there's some reasonableness to that. And I don't know what our county's doing. If our county health department, is that what you rely on to set up here tonight?
No. This is how we've been set up. I mean, we've met in person this whole time.
Okay.
And this is generally how we've been set up. We felt, we each have our own 6-foot table, and the chairs are spaced 6 feet apart out there. And, I think you would have a hard time arguing that we haven't taken reasonable precautions here. I mean, we've asked people to check in, take their temperature and all that. I mean, I think we've done what we can do. But we are fortunate that we have a big enough area to do it. I mean, the one thing that's concerned me, the county commissioners are meeting in you've been in commissioner chambers before. They don't have this, they have the seats all packed right next to each other. They don't have them blocked off. Half of them weren't wearing masks. I would make the argument they have not done what they could do, or we have done that. And we've also opened our hall to the fire board, and we've offered it to the village for their meetings, because they have a tight council chambers too, just to, do what we can reasonably, do.
So the state's ruling it doesn't override what the county level or the local level.
That's going to court right now in Oakland County and Ingham County, because they both brought out.
They did? Okay, now I wasn't aware of that.
Our county isn't, I don't think you need to worry, our county isn't going to be a strict county.
No.
They're going to probably do nothing. So, but yeah, you're right, Ingham and Oakland, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yep.
No, the court case did not deal with the county regulations, but they're executive agencies, just like the governor is. And so my opinion is they're gonna have to meet the same standards of precision. See, the judicial branch is asked to justify the executive branch usurping legislative powers. And so that's what our Supreme Court did. And for the first time in the state of Michigan, they're getting more demanding that the legislature provide the executive with some guidance before they let the executive take their legislative authority. And I think the same rule would apply to any executive branch agency, and that I didn't know that the Oakland County, and they're one of the major counties in the state, so they may want to take it up and maybe answer the question, the issue I just raised. The Supreme Court, in its decision, did not specifically say anything about that. I'm just reasoning from what they did say. It's still counties or executive branch authority, a county health department. It's not a county commission with legislative powers, so I think the ruling applies to them.
And the legislature is going to have to act on some of this. We have all these changes to unemployment and all that are messed up because of this. They're going to act on a bunch of this. I suspect you will have something in between of nothing and where we were. That'd be my gut feeling. They aren't going to just blow everything to pieces.
No, and I think today the Sharkey, I think, is the
Senate Majority Leader.
Senate Majority. He said he's been approached by Governor Whitmer, and that they are going to at least talk about doing something together.
Well, and then they'll back to on that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I read some of that court ruling too. I mean, they just said that, you know, but the state constitution clearly gives a separation of powers, and you know, Tom, why would they have, when they passed the emergency, you know, there was two statutes she relied on. First, she relied on that one, what, in the 70s, and then when the legislature didn't extend it, which is what it said, she went to the 45 law. Why wouldn't they have repealed the 45 law when they passed the 76 law?
I don't know why. By the way, all 7 of the Supreme Court members agreed that the governor couldn't rely on the 76 statute, which she initially did, but then she used the 45 law as a backup. And usually, if there are conflicts in laws, you use the most recent statement of the legislature, which would have been 76.
Makes sense, yeah.
I'll bet you there's staff in the Senate and House right now that are looking at all the laws that are on the books.
Well, but they
conflicting
do that
laws.
occasionally, where they pass, you know, you really, whenever, well, you were an attorney general, I mean, there's so many little things you have to clean up elsewhere when you pass something new or it conflicts.
Yeah, or what generally happens is the courts develop a rule for dealing with a situation. There's another one, the first case I ever had go to the Court of Appeals was relying on the statement, the Latin phrase, expressio unius ex exclusio alteris. A statement of one thing by the legislature excludes other things. So the most recent statement by the legislature was, if the governor is going to declare a statewide emergency, after 28 days, she's got to get the executive branch, the legislative branch to go along with her. And to me, that was the expression that if you have something that conflicts, you usually, it would be excluded. But actually, nobody raised that argument. I didn't see anything in the opinion on that. I would have raised that before, but
That's what happened.
I'm retired, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Troy, I think you're correct. The legislature's going to have, and that's the whole idea, to force, you know, the legislative branch, Congress is really good. I saw it in federal environmental laws. You know, the federal government likes to, or the Congress likes to turn over difficult issues to the executive and let them deal with it, so they don't have to take, they can say, well, we just passed a law, but you know, that's how they interpreted it or
Oh,
something.
you're right, Congress is the worst one. I mean, they complain about it, but they just let the executive branch run rampant, and they could take that authority back if they want, and they don't, you know, and that's a whole other problem for our world.
Most of the cases in the decision were federal. Well, it was the federal court asked the Supreme Court to rule on it because it would then help the federal courts have to be cognizant of what state law is on issues that involve the state, just the state. And so it's interesting how it goes.
My gut told me that the Supreme Court wanted to stall this, hoping, my gut told me that the courts would want to delay this until, hoping we would move past this, recognizing most of these things probably were unconstitutional, but they didn't want to create chaos in the middle of a pandemic. And this court ruling kind of forced their hand a little faster than they wanted to. I don't have any basis for that, but that's just kind of what it seemed like. And, you know, going forward, we'll have to figure things out. But hopefully this doesn't happen for another 100 years.
Yeah, right.
Well, we've shut down our volunteers because of all of this, and we talked today and we decided that we still probably will keep it shut down until things kind of cool off a little bit. Because, you know, here we're having multiple people come in over our elections and we're gonna fog the place. It'll cost $250. I don't think that renters are gonna wanna pay that, you know, to sanitize afterwards.
Each time, yeah.
You always have concerns, you don't know who's coming or going, you know, all that, so.
Yeah, so,
Thanks, Tom, for coming, we appreciate it, Okay,
I make a motion that we go.
okay, motion's been made, accepted, shall we go? Okay, good night, everyone.